Hey, bon midi tout le monde, comment allez-vous? Bon midi Vincent. Fait que ouais, au lieu d'être à la course pour la dernière minute, cette fois-ci, j'ai décidé de prendre un peu d'avance, puis me préparer avant, puis dès que ça va commencer, on va switcher vers le stream live. Ben, pas live, c'est pas vrai, c'est pas live, c'est Modern Horizon 3 Debut. Puis ils ont cancellé le weekly MTG après ça. Je trouve ça intéressant. Quand tu regardes dans la cellule Twitch, tu as le Modern Horizon 3 début de midi à 1h. Puis après ça, il était supposé avoir un weekly MTG où ce qui d'habitude nous présente plus de cartes. Puis là, ça a été cancellé. Puis je me demande si ça n'a pas un lien. En fait, ça a probablement un lien avec les leaks. Probablement. Hey Alex, ça va très bien. Toi, il va comment? Encore, je dirais, un peu fatigué. ça a été, ça a été une fin de semaine un petit peu folle. Bon, plusieurs d'entre vous, on était supposé faire le 12 heures en fin de semaine. Il y a plein de choses qui sont arrivées qui a fait que on a décidé de reporter. De ne pas faire le 12 heures, mais il y a quand même du monde qui sont venus jouer. Ludo est quand même descendu, Phil est descendu. Puis, je vous mens pas, il n'y a pas un soir, vendredi, samedi et même dimanche, que je me suis couché avant minuit. En fait, avant 1h du matin. Et ceux qui me connaissent savaient que je suis un couche tôt. Dimanche soir, les gars sont partis, je pense qu'il était 1h45 du matin. On a joué en tabarnouche. Oui, c'est vrai, Alexandre, tu avais un mariage en fin de semaine. Ça a dû être un gros week-end. Hey! Benjamin, d'ailleurs, qui était avec nous autres une bonne partie du week-end. Ça a été, ouais, hein? Hey, Ben, il s'est couché. C'est quand est-ce que t'es venu? Samedi soir? Puis tu travaillais le lendemain matin? T'es allé travailler? Puis t'es revenu après? Ouais, ça a été une très grosse fin de semaine de Magic. Très, très grosse. On a filmé quand même beaucoup. 5 vidéos, si je me trompe pas. Ouais, c'est ça, samedi, puis tu travaillais dimanche. Puis t'es revenu jouer après la job dimanche. euh, Fait que, ouais, on a filmé quelque chose comme 5 vidéos. Tout dimanche. Ça fait que beaucoup de jobs. J'ai une chance, je suis en vacances cette semaine, j'en profite. Beaucoup de montage à faire cette semaine. Des vidéos qui vont être prévues plus pour juin. Là. On en a profité pour filmer là parce qu'on avait une belle opportunité. Mais c'est du stock que vous allez voir en juin. Donc, le temps de tout monter, tout préparer, tout faire la patente. Fait que non, fait que très très cool fin de semaine. Merci à tous ceux qui sont venus. Sainte-Pelle, Ada est venu faire jouer une bonne coupe de game. Steph est passé. Étienne est passé. Ludo puis Phil qui était descendu pour la fin de semaine. Le vendredi soir, on est allé faire un tour au Pion Joue. C'était vraiment plaisant. Merci à Max de nous avoir reçus. Puis ben, ce midi, ce midi, ça devrait... Ça a changé l'écran, mais il se passe rien. Fait quoi, ce midi, on va regarder ça ensemble. Les nouvelles cartes. Potentiellement toutes déjà vues, malheureusement. C'est plate parce que les leaks, là, Mark Rosewater a décidé que probablement que faire les devinettes, ça servait à rien à cause des leaks. Je serais pas étonné, comme j'ai dit, qu'il ait cancellé le Weekly MTG après le match 3 début, qu'il l'ait cancellé à cause des leaks. Puis je trouve ça plate. Puis je trouve ça plate en tant que créateur aussi. Si je recevais une carte, une preview card, puis je la travaille, puis je planifiais quelque chose pour faire le reveal, puis que finalement il spoilé comme 2 semaines avant, je trouverais ça poche. C'est pour ça d'ailleurs que vous le savez tous, j'ai décidé de limiter mes échanges et discussions à propos des leaks personnellement. Je vous cacherai pas que je les regarde, je les lis. Je vous mentirai pas. Je les regarde, je les lis. Puis, mais je vais essayer de pas en parler ni d'échanger. En fait, pas sur la chaîne. En privé, ça arrive. Là, je vais avec du monde. Je vais dire, ah, tu veux telle carte pour éviter dans ton deck, ou ça, je sais que t'aimes ça. Ou ah, cette carte-là, si vraiment elle est vraie, pourrait faire monter le prix de certaines cartes. Dans mes discussions personnelles, mais sur la chaîne, je veux pas faire ça. Pinkerton va encore avoir de la job. Ça va rester collé, ça. Ça va rester collé. Puis, c'est une discussion qu'on peut avoir. Tu sais, on a un côté et demi de la médaille. On sait pas. Tu peux pas prendre une décision ou porter un jugement comme ça sans avoir toute l'information. Puis comme on n'était pas là, on ne saura jamais ce qui s'est vraiment passé. Ils ont essayé d'appeler le gars 28 fois, puis il n'a jamais répondu, on a déjà jasé. Ils ont-tu un contrat avec Pinkerton, puis c'est la firme qu'ils utilisent. Si ça aurait été une autre firme qui n'aurait pas eu le passé, peut-être que les Pinkerton ont, est-ce que ça aurait eu la même ampleur? Le gars a fait ça en connaissance de cause. Il me fera pas. Je peux pas croire qu'il savait pas qu'il avait pas le droit. J'y crois pas. J'y crois pas. Il n'y a rien à faire. Dans le temps que j'ouvrais des boîtes pour une boutique, on se déplaçait dans une boutique pour on filmait. On a fait un drain-ish. La première fois qu'on l'a fait, le propriétaire, puis j'ai lâché la vidéo genre le lendemain. Le propriétaire s'est fait appeler. Tous les spoilers étaient sortis. Le propriétaire s'est fait appeler parce qu'il y a une autre boutique qui avait fait une plainte. Puis, on s'était fait expliquer que, bon, si on fait ce genre de vidéo-là, on a le droit, une fois que les spoilers sont sortis, tous les spoilers sont sortis, on peut filmer un opening. Et, faut mettre un disclaimer comme quoi que les cartes n'ont pas été vendues, qu'elles appartiennent à la boutique, que c'est pour des singles qui vont être disponibles telle date. Mais c'est ça. Mais, tout le monde qui sort des leaks, je sais qu'il est dans le tort. Hein? Puis, je suis un humain, là. Moi aussi, j'aurais la chance d'acheter du MH3 avant. Par exemple, tu vas au Walmart, MH3, il est ses tablettes. Tu l'achètes, il te laisse partir avec. Je le ferais. Peut-être que je partagerais l'info avec des proches de moi, show up des cartes, mais jamais sur vidéo, jamais pas pour briser rien. Je ferais peut-être une couple de vidéos pour sortir après. Peut-être. Probablement que je ferais une vidéo au moment où je l'ai, peut-être avec on est telle date, j'en ai eu, mais la vidéo sortirait une fois que les previews sont toutes faites. Ça, c'est mon point de vue, je trouve ça ordinaire. Bon, oh, ça commence-tu, ça? Ça commence. Ok, c'est encore tout noir. On va réfléchir, voir, puis on va peut-être... Alors, une petite publicité. On va skipper la pub. Vincent, beau week-end. J'ai hâte de voir. Moi aussi, j'ai hâte que vous descendiez, les boys. Là. J'ai hâte que vous veniez faire votre tour. Le set que j'attends le plus de 2024, Modern Horizon. On va vous présenter ça. On va faire ça mieux que ça un petit peu, là, on peut. Si on va dans... c'est qu'on était, là? Ah, ici. Et voilà. Fait que... Ouais, ben, écoute, tu vas être gâté au niveau Eldrazi. Au niveau Eldrazi, tu vas être gâté. Plein de bébites, oui. Plein de beaux Eldrazi, des cats. Il y a une coupe de ligues que, si c'est vrai, il y a une coupe de cartes que je trouve vraiment cool. C'est reprint des fetch. Très très bon reprint. J'ai hâte de voir les autres reprints qu'on va voir aussi dans le set. Parce que il va sûrement avoir special guest. Les aiderait. Tu sais, il y a des decks comme ça, hein, que vous savez, je déteste jouer contre Inhalator, je déteste jouer contre. Fait que j'essaie de jamais jouer contre des decks d'Eldrazi pour que quand je joue Alex, je peux jouer avec. Que je peux jouer contre des Eldrazi. Alex, c'est ma dose d'Eldrazi annuelle. Le land qui double les triggers, si c'est vrai, c'est broken, effectivement. Si. Il y a quelques LAN qui sont. Très bien. Tu sais, Alex, tu as été ma dose de Tergrid annuelle, celle-là. On a joué une partie, c'était en mars, je suis correct pour un. Ah, mais ça, j'ai déjà mal au cœur. J'ai hâte de voir. Je peux baisser leur son un peu. Le set a de l'air super beau. Leur art direction a de l'air super cool. Je trouve ça intéressant, vu que c'est un set moderne égal, ils sont venus dans le passé de l'histoire de Magic, présenter des cartes et des moments dans leur histoire qui se passent justement dans le passé. Puis ça, je trouve ça cool. Puis ça leur permet de réimprimer certains Planeswalkers, de réimprimer certaines cartes dans ce set-là. Très, très cool. Et je me rappelle quand le premier Modern Horizon est sorti, on se posait la question, en fait, certaines personnes se posaient la question, puis parce qu'il y avait appelé le set MH1, j'étais persuadé qu'il y en aurait d'autres. Oui, le portefeuille a effectivement souffert énormément. Je n'ai pas acheté de singles encore, puis le portefeuille a souffert juste pour la base qu'on fait à chaque set. C'est un set qui est un peu plus dispendieux. Puis, Nat et moi, on a décidé de garder, y aller avec ce qu'on fait d'habitude. J'y ai pensé, j'ai évalué comme il faut si on changeait pas quelques petites choses. Puis on s'est dit que non. On allait box, bundle, comme d'habitude. Fait que oui. Puis là, après ça va être les singles. Ça va être les singles. Il va sûrement avoir d'excellentes cartes là-dedans. Parle-moi pas du portefeuille. Il va falloir que je préco tous mes Eldrazi et autres. Et des Eldrazi tout en brillant Special Edition s'il y en a. Hein. S'il y en a. Mais Alex, ouais, tu veux peut-être pas le Commander Deck, mais il y a une version du Commander Deck Premium Eldrazi. Peut-être que ça vaudra la peine. Mais qu'on sache qu'il y a dedans, de regarder si ça vaut la peine. Tu aurais déjà probablement une version Premium de toutes les cartes. Parce que dans le set de Modern Horizon 3, il sort des Commander Deck et 2 versions des Commander Deck. Une version normale et une version Premium. Imagine Premium, c'est ça. Ça va être du foil, puis du alternate art, puis stuff like that. It's a go. Ah, ça rouvre des boosters en partant.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, sorry. This is like the sweetest pack ever. That is awesome. These sets are made for people like me. I've been playing the game for a long time, and I love limited, and Modern Horizon sets are perfect for that.
The cards are super juiced, and everything is far more exciting and fun to play.
And everything is so strong, but everybody has these strong decks as well, so it's kind of like haymaker after haymaker.
And this is the one time when the gloves get to come off for the designers, and they get to just unload all these cool, weird ideas. Hey, do you want to put that in the set? Yes, I do.
Ben oui. comme c'est un set
For Modern
moderne,
Horizons 3, we knew that we were going to be doing
les cartes sont plus
Eldrazi,
fortes.
we knew we were going
Emrakul,
to
The
be
World
doing Energy,
New.
and we were going to be doing these sort of build around,
Algénie, on l'avait
transform
déjà vu.
planeswalkers.
Energy
Everything started from there and then just rippled outward as we developed the set.
So for 30 years, like basically
Ah,
two-thirds
moi
of my
aussi, je
life,
comprends
I've
tout à
been
fait
playing
que
Magic.
les
I've
joueurs
seen
qui n'aient
the
pas de modern
Modern
deck, je trouve
Horizons
ça.
grow.
En fait,
And
s'il aurait fait des
develop,
bons
and
decks
my jam. You know,
modernes,
it's
ça aurait peut-être
exactly
été, mettons pour
what
toi,
I'm
Ben,
about.
un
The
stepping
one
stone à
thing
commencer
that kind
moderne.
of unites everyone who works at Wizards of the Coast is we love
Il y a
Magic.
tellement
People
dû
that work
faire
on the
des bonnes
set, the
bases de
people that
decks
even
modernes.
work on any part of Magic are Magic players. We still
Avec le
play
nouveau
every
pour
day.
pouvoir
We
justement
follow and pay attention to like the trends and what's happening in real life tournaments.
Faire
We wouldn't do
un-
that if we weren't passionate about it.
un
You know,
premier
before I
step
came
à
to
quelqu'un qui veut
Wizards,
commencer.
I was a very competitive Magic player. That was always my favorite type of tournament was Modern, where it's like there's tons of interesting possibilities. The metagame is always going to be very fresh.
There's so many options and cards that you can kind of express yourself in just whatever way you feel like it.
If you like something about Magic, it's in Modern for you somewhere.
I mean, that's the fun. It's like you give people more toys and then they
Oui,
find
parle de
different ways to
moderne,
break
quelle
it.
Me, I'm
possibilité.
excited for when the set comes out.
C'est un excellent
Oh,
set
look at that
commentaire, je
beautiful
trouve.
play.
The first time you actually see the real glossy Magic cards in your hand.
Is that our boy?
What is?
I think it is.
I think that's
Now
our-
it's in a real Magic card, official, crisp.
The
First
first one of these I've opened. I'm trying to hold it all in right now.
You've worked with it for years and you still get this sense of awe when you get to open those packs.
Yeah.
No, this is a real Magic set because we gave players
Full
away to
spoiler
elk
attack.
stuff. A lot of the appeal
Trickster
of
elk.
formats like Modern, like Legacy, like Pioneer,
Hey,
is that
Phil.
if you buy a deck, you're going to be able to play it for a really long time, ideally forever. We also want people whose decks maybe haven't
Ils ont
gotten
pas
new
montré
tools in a
longtemps,
while
mais
to
attends,
make
le temps de
sure
voir
that
les
they
cartes.
do have an outlet to be able to get new things.
And then there's, I'll call the audience that loves powerful cards.
I have to recalibrate my entire brain around picking these really powerful cards.
It was a couple months of us kind of locking ourselves on a different floor from the rest of the design teams, get through the list of all the cards we want to see in play. And we would print it out of these printers that print, Magic cards, which is pretty cool. And then assign them out every week and be like, let's do a report every couple days on how things are going, how are the cards looking.
An hour playing is often worth, just hours of conversation. I can feel when things are coming together and I can feel when things need revised. Part of the fun thing about like early design is you want to explore what's fun. What parts of this do we like? What parts do we need to move on from?
We've got some playtest versions of this card so we can kind of see how it evolved, right? And what we found was this deck had so many weird lands that made colorless mana that it was super hard to cast this card before and after.
You're playing and Michael Majors, the lead designer, will come up behind you and be like, oh, all of a sudden your 4/4 is a 3/3. Or you're like, hey, this says these words. Does it mean that? And it's like, no. Oh, that was the old version. Scratch out, right? By the time you get to the end, you really are like, wow, this is revolutionized. This has really come together. And so playtest cards represent all of this change. All of the work that we do.
It's kind of fun to see what you designed to put into the set versus what the players do with it.
So there's people like me who just love to draft.
I love draft.
Drafting is my bread and butter.
I am a draft fanatic. The Modern Horizon sets are some of my favorite of all time to draft.
Oh, that
yeah, that
Wow,
that's
that's
really cool.
really
Keep getting multiple breaks.
When you start opening these cards, it's like, wow, wow, wow. And you have to pick one of them each time, but they are really amped up.
Unfortunately, your opponent's also powered up, but that's just what makes for compelling, fun games.
We've really made sure that a lot of the different two-color pair archetypes are very loud about what they're trying to do.
Energy looks like one that they actually wanted to make one of the hallmarks of the set. And it's a really cool additional resource that you can manage that isn't life total or mana.
Early on, the team sits down and says, all right, we have 10 color pairs. We're going to have Eldrazi, we're going to have Energy, but also we have to figure out how are they going to mix.
With Modern Horizons, the power level is clearly a bit higher.
The 3 Eldrazi Titans are here. They're returning. If you thought Emrakul was exciting, we have both Ulamog and Kozilek that I hope will also blow your socks off.
For me, Emrakul, the world anew, it's this amazing, like, 12-12. That will represent the enormity of Emrakul. And this has madness. Like, if you have 6 colorless and you discard it, you can play it for basically half its cost.
I'm super stoked for Eldrazi. These cards go huge. They're really strong, but you have to work for these cards, and that's the type of card that I really like. It makes my brain start to spin about how can I put these together to get these huge
I can live
So
with
whenever you look at the new Kozilek,
Sacrifie deux
manifesting is not something that you normally get to do in a Magic set. With Kozilek, you get to find whatever your high impact cast trigger is going to be throughout all of Magic's history, and then how do we make that powerful enough?
Il me semble qu'ils sont beaucoup plus
When it comes
raisonnables.
to a
des
Horizon
titans, là.
set, we generally know that there's sort of an expectation that there's going to be some sort of 3-spell cycle. We did the Evoke Elementals in MH2, the Forces in
Ouais,
MH1.
Eldrazi est
For MH3,
moderne.
we have the Flares.
So we definitely needed an exciting
Le cycle de
list
flair,
of
on
cards.
les
So
avait
instead
vus.
of pitching a card from your hand, you actually need to sacrifice a non-token creature on the battlefield to force one color. It's an
Sacrifier un
interesting new dynamic.
non-token
Cultivation was one that we
créature de la
spent a ton
couleur.
of development
Je trouve
cycles
ça
on, and
plus
some
intelligent
versions
comme
of
paiement.
Eldrazi that were trying
Bon,
to go further up the curve and cast
ça c'est
bigger
débile un
spells. We
peu,
wanted
là.
to make sure that they're fun and not oppressive.
Flare of duplication. All you have to do, you find a goblin who's lying around. You find
Bon,
a
faut
red
pas qu'il y ait de
creature. And you're
plus un,
like,
plus un, qu'on est
I'm
correct.
sorry, friend.
Ah.
You have to go. It's just like, I need 2 of the spell I'm casting. Just being able to
Ouais, c'est
throw
ça.
back your
Sacrifice
opponent's spell in their
non-token
face, that's
red.
amazing.
Une
And
chance
now,
qu'ils ont mis
assuming you have at
non-token.
least 1 red creature out, that's something that's going to have
Ben,
to be
envers
le.
le.
Oh, do you have Frogmere Enforcer?
No,
over
un peu
here?
débile, là.
That's one of the funnest cards.
Yeah.
It's literally a reference inside a reference. You have Big Mirror Enforcer, Little Frogmite as the prototype. And then the creature is the 2 of them combined. The name was a little different at one point, but
I think they figured it out. I mean, Frogmere Enforcer. You see it.
Il y avait une
You
prototype.
get it.
I really love the callback cards in the Modern Horizons sets.
We want to do callbacks. We want to have fun and for players to
Gives a
be able to
cave.
catch references in the art where
Maybe so.
possible.
To me, callbacks are sort of this, I'll say, dive through Magic's
Je suis content qu'il y ait
history.
plus
if
de
you've
land
played a lot
Cave,
of Magic,
Cave
you're going
Desert.
to see
Je trouve ça le
characters that
fun,
you're
c'est tout
familiar
devrait
with.
plus
You might even
explorer.
see some sort of meta references to cards.
You know, we're making this game for ourselves too, right? So we want those moments of excitement. Like, what if I could finally see this thing that I've always thought about and talked about and wanted to see?
I really like the series of cards that we've made where we take 3 kind of copies of one famous Magic card and staple them together into a single card.
We had Lena War Tribe in Modern Horizons 1. We had Healer's Flock in Modern Horizons 2. And now we have Mog Mob, which is 3 Mog Fanatics.
If you get it,
Mug
you're just
Mob.
like,
Ah,
oh,
nice.
they took 3 of them and put them together.
I originally didn't have it as deal divided damage, and it was just deal 3 damage to any target. And someone gave me that suggestion. It's like, oh, this is actually a way better illusion than 3 Mog Fanatics.
This
J'adore.
particular set's cool
The
because
art
it
est
has
cool.
a lot of throwback or callbacks to cards that I might remember from the past. So it's this interesting mix of brand new, never before seen, but also with things that are a little more familiar, a little more comfortable.
We have Snow-Covered Wastes, which is kind of a reference to the first time Eldrazi was a big deck,
Iceberg.
was called Eldrazi Winter.
I mean, the completionist in me loves the fulfillment of, we have 5 basics, we have a wastes. And we have 5 snow-covered basics. We didn't have snow-covered wastes. Like, of course this is something that should exist. We need to have snow-covered wastes. And now we do.
Favorite part of the process is getting all the little in-jokes in, all the little Easter egg.
Wumpus Aberration is one of the ones that is
is
extremely
yeah.
on the nose. Carmen made a joke in a meeting and it made Michael laugh hard enough
Hey.
that it now is just a real card.
C'était pas un colorless sur une autre mini-cap.
I certainly believe her. Her memory is better than mine.
I think my favorite in-joke is also my favorite card in this set, and that's Witch Enchanter. Whenever you cast it, you say Witch Enchanter, because that's the name of the card. And in Greater Magic,
Just like
for
that,
cards
too.
that start with Dis, people will say Witch Spell, and you say Dispel when you counter it, or Witch Member, Dismember, etc. So Witch Enchanter, you get to say Disenchanter, and when it enters the battlefield, it destroys an artifact or an enchantment.
Ouais,
like
je suis
the
pas sûr
card
qu'on va avoir des
Disenchant.
snow cards,
And
par
that was
exemple.
one that made a lot of people just.
Je suis pas sûr qu'il va y avoir des
during
snow
playtesting,
cards autres que
getting
les
to see
snow
your
wastes.
game pieces bring people joy in real times is what keeps me coming back to this job.
Which
Azorius,
enchanter?
This one.
ça a été
This
cool en
one.
plus.
This one?
Bleu
This
blanc.
one? And there's a whole backside to the card, too.
Yeah,
It's like
right, that's it.
There's more card there.
6, also on the list of cards where
Ah,
it was just
6
kind
c'est
of
cool.
preposterous enough when I suggested it that the room kind of laughed, and then we thought, well, Ren and 6 originally did come from Modern Horizons 1, maybe.
The horizons have matured enough to where we start referencing themselves.
It's a depiction of 6 before it merges with Ren. So there's this just really sensitive scene of them in the forest and like autumn leaves.
There are a lot of constraints making the cards that a lot of people on the outside don't realize. In some cases, like token artwork, if a token is on a bunch of different cards, you can't always change the stats of the token.
Ouais, qu'il n'y ait pas d'autres
Genku
snow, ouais,
Future
ça aurait été
Shaper
cool.
is one that
Oh.
we thought was a cool
Hey,
enough
Moonful
character
Wizard.
that we made a bunch of individualized tokens just for this card because we thought it was such a great
Très
story
créature
beat.
So those creature tokens are all of
Ah, je
Genku
pensais long.
Futamia's children. It's basically him as a stay-at-home dad.
So one of the really cool things about working on a Horizon set like this is that you get to be really pointed at the kinds of cards that you're answering. So Thief of Existence was one that in playtesting, it literally was called Time Unraveler, because the whole purpose of the card was to check Teferi Time Raveler.
Serum Visionary is a classic Modern Horizon style design where we take a famous card, in this case Serum Vision, and we attach it to a creature. So this was a spell, now it's a creature that when it enters, it casts that spell.
Psychic Frog is maybe the first card I ever made.
I think Psychic Frog is just like the home run nostalgia hit.
Psychic Frog, right?
Psychic Frog. It is a clear reference to Psychotog as a psychic frog.
And it's a psychic frog. It's kind of, yeah.
Going back to the nostalgic feeling of it, like seeing cards that were a little bit twisted from their old designs, but basically the same thing, kind of just let me feel, you know, what it's like to open a booster back when I was 10 years old.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of the retro frame cards.
I think retro frame cards just kind of go back to that sense
Shadow
of,
of the
what does
Second
nostalgia
Sun.
mean for certain people. It's
Holding a card in your hand that looks like the first Magic card you ever opened up from a pack is, just a really meaningful moment.
So I opened up a retro frame Flooded Strand. I see them and it immediately makes me think of when I first started.
T'as vu ces screenshots, Alex? Alex, il me shoot des screenshots des cartes pour nous pour le temps de voir.
When you started, it just feels awesome.
For Modern Horizons 3, because it's really touching on callbacks and touching on nostalgia, really building into what I'll call the heart of Magic, it means that we go and we just build the art in a different way. Let's find out what we love, what our fans love, and tap into that.
I think it's really important to bring legacy artists back for a set like this because immediately it ties back in visually to the history of the game.
These artists know Magic inside and out. They're lore masters, and they've been working with us for so long. We all can put a lot of trust into them.
Richard Kane Ferguson, his work is incredible. You can't look at his art without hearing guitar riffs and sky-splitting lightning coming from his
Night
work.
of the White
Dives into immense detail. He has a very textured, crunchy look that I just adore. Nobody's work looks like that, and I think his work really stands out. The borderless frame break booster fun treatment is always really, really cool.
We've only done these really sparingly, really the powerful cards.
Wheel of Potential, finalement, c'était vrai. Power Balance aussi, c'était vrai. Le contraire de Counterbalance.
Oh no, it's so powerful, it's breaking the card up as it's showing up.
Yeah, so for me today, I drafted Eldrazi, and that's one of my favorite creature types. It's one of my favorite things that they've ever made creatively from Wizards of the Coast. So once I see that, I'm in.
These are concept art. I remember digging through the office to find the original Eldrazi concept art. I think it's really exciting that these versions of this art is on these cards.
And this is a mock-up of a serialized card. That means that there's going to be 250 of these in the whole world. It makes it really special.
Yeah, these are dream pools, right?
Oh, wow.
Right, yeah, when you're opening a collector booster, you're hoping to get one of those Eldrazi.
I mean, you have a chance to open one of these, and that's an experience that you're just not going to get very often. You open up something so cool, and this would be the best open of my entire life if I got one of these. Also, I'm a huge fan of Emrakul. I'm a huge fan of Mark Kadeen, the artist for this, so I love the artwork for it. I mean, this would probably be a card that would never leave my collection if I opened it.
Usually what my favorite process is just working with the artists, communicating with them, and they can be really creative.
Aether Refinery was an example of a card where we really gave the artist more freedom. The art description was basically just design as an Aether Refinery, and then they came back with an Aether Refinery, and it was the most beautiful Aether Refinery ever. I'm always surprised by the art that comes back. Whenever I write it down, I have this picture in my head of how it's going to be, but I'm not an artist. I'm about the words. And then the artist will take that and transform it into something amazing.
So I think when I start drawing, usually I try to just think about the general gesture of what's going on. I'm Evan Fong, and I've been doing art for Magic since Theros Beyond Death. I do illustration and concept art. I did the Tamiyo card. It's my first Planeswalker. I'm really excited to see her. These are preliminary sketches I did. This is kind of my thinking before I go into sending the sketches to Sarah. I've been looking at a lot of manga artists lately, and they do a lot of ink work and pencil work, and it made me really inspired to kind of try to get the energy that comes with working with analog media.
I really enjoyed the Tamiyo card in particular because we don't have to feel beholden to our current timeline. We can go back and show her as she was in the past, and that's something that is really unique to the Modern Horizons.
Getting to see them before they were this powerful, overall best cards and Magic characters.
Being kind of real,
being human.
I think that was one of the coolest parts about this project was that showing both things, right? Getting a chance to do both.
So for the B side of my transformation card, where she's kind of exploding into her planeswalker, I was really inspired by a lot of anime I saw growing up, like magical girl transformations and things like that. There's a lot of like graphic design elements and like things where the special effects are used, like as ribbons or things like that.
Et le troisième portable.
To show you.
Okay. Look at it. Oh my god, look at it.
Oh, it looks so good.
It's the textured foil.
Wow. Oh, she looks awesome. Oh my
Moins
god.
7, tu piges des cartes égales à la moitié du nombre de cartes dans ta librairie, tu gagnes un emblème
show her in the middle of it.
Oh, that's cool.
See the texture on it?
Yeah.
The first time I looked at a card that I had commissioned, I cried. Watching someone create art, like getting a sketch back from someone, like I send them a description and it's very rational. I read through it and it makes perfect sense. And then when I see the sketches, no matter how rough they are, the ability of a human to show feeling and to create out of nothing, just like every time it blows my mind, it doesn't get old. So whenever I open a card and see it like cut and printed by a giant printing machine and like it's polished and it's beautiful, knowing how many people had to make that card look good, it's very moving.
J'avoue que c'est du petit cowboy.
Young Soren.
Regarde, t'es belle.
The front side of Soren's Sleepwalker
Non, fait que Soren
as a
extort
human
lifelink
teenager
un 4.
when he's just this
Main
lordly
phase
little
1, c'est quand même 3 points de vue
princeling
au
on
plus sur lesquels
Innistrad.
il
Young
est
Soren is one
transformé.
of my favorite moments in the whole set that really like gives you that he's like looking off to the side.
I wanted him to be this pouty, brooding,
Extort,
angsty
clear,
teenager,
full,
and then the
moins
art came back,
dommages
and he was
égales au nombre de
exactly
points de
that.
gagné.
Like, oh my gosh, that is perfect.
Donc,
It's fun to
t'as
do
regardé
that
quelque
many
chose.
planeswalkers and to depict many of them when they're young or they sparked. Like Raw was my favorite because what does he look like as a young man? And so it's really exciting to see them in a more vibrant and explosive post to where they're actually coming forward.
It's amazing to see these planeswalkers come to life. I mean, this is literally showing their spark moment. There's a borderless Ajani, and you can see Ajani and the impact that the death of his brother had on him. It's one of the original planeswalkers, right? Lauren debuted Ajani, and he's still with us today, and we get to bring him back over and over again.
From my perspective as an art director, one of the most fun things about it is getting to look back in the catalog of the art, kind of bring back some artists. Like we work with Ron Spencer for one of the double-sided Planeswalker cards, and he's
fait que finalement, quand on
art
les
for
lit
Magic since
qui avaient sorti des Planeswalkers étaient
kind
vrais.
of disgusting. She's like this giant monster made out of bugs. The other side, which we've never seen in Magic before, is Grist as like a little caterpillar.
Ça va aller
it's
dans mon
like
deck un vert
dripping
vert.
fangs and all these like
Un,
purplish,
deux
reddish,
détaches, c'est
like
encore meilleur
viscera
qu'un
colors,
détache.
and it's so beautiful. You could like print it on silk, but it's like a gross little like monstrous caterpillar. Amazing.
Of course, I have a lot of love for tons of different cards, and Ophelia is definitely my number one pick. She is in likeness of my personal pet, Ophelia. This is Ophelia. She is a good girl. Yeah, so here she is. Here's my pupper. It's Ophelia, the exuberant shepherd.
So the borderless profile cards give us this chance to show the fans like a really much more intimate, singular look at these powerful creatures and characters. You know, when we draw planeswalkers or important characters on a Magic card, the reality is their faces end up being half a centimeter tall because we want to also show part of their body and we want to show weapons and magical effects. So the borderless profile cards are, I think, a really special and fun treatment that we do. You think of like an old school battle of like being on horseback and the commander riding past, and if you're lucky, you get like, the glint of their eye, right? And that like motivates you to run out and throw yourselves on the spears of the enemies. It's just like a gorgeous piece of work. We've done a couple borderless profile card versions of Eldrazi, and it's always kind of like a mind scramble. They're just like these huge, monstrous, sky-filling horrors that destroy everything in their wake. But Cosmic Podar is an artist. We've worked with a bunch on those, and they're able to like really work within the limits to really produce stuff that feels powerful and exciting in that little cardboard square.
Have you seen the borderless commander cards?
Nice, look at that.
Right?
Ooh la leck. Well, I've got the commander decks here. Why don't we pass them around? A Merit Lage token with a Sand Warrior on the back. I think that gives us an idea of some of the wackiness that is possible.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
One of the things that I really love about Modern Horizons 3 is that it's trying to make more Magic more exciting to more people.
This is not just a Modern set. This is a set for everyone.
From the very beginning, we saw it change people's commander decks. Commander players love powerful cards. Magic players love powerful cards. I love powerful cards.
And so the angle that we found for the commander decks was, what if these are commander decks that feel like they are about the modern format?
One of the things about Modern Horizons 3 commander decks, those cards in there, they're commander legal.
The cards that we're releasing will have 2 different expansion symbols. Some of them will have the regular Modern Horizons 3 expansion symbol. Those will all be legal in Modern. And then some of them will have the MH3 Commander expansion symbol.
Yes, I know that's kind of awkward. The product's called Modern Horizons 3. I didn't want to let us be held back because, yeah, Modern's in the name. Once you open the package, they're just amazing Magic cards.
Oh, wow. These are the new commanders for the precons? Wow, that is awesome.
The Eldrazi Incursion deck, commanded by Ulalek, used Atrocity. For the Eldrazi deck, Eldrazi are a big deal in Modern. They've been, very impactful for quite a few years now. I just love having gigantic monsters that crush everything in front. The Creative Energy deck is led by Satya, Aetherflux Genius. In this deck, you want to build up your reserves of energy and then spend them all on a huge effect to sort of blow out your opponents in a big blast.
The energy reserve, you are going to fill it up and use that energy. There are, I think it looks like at least 4 copy tokens to give you an idea. That's a lot of copy tokens.
The Tricky Terrain deck is led by Omo, Queen of
ça, c'est un qui m'intéresse.
This is definitely the weirdest of the decks. She can not only give creatures all creature types, but she can give lands all land types. I love combining weird cards together that aren't normally played in Commander. I love winning with things that nobody expects. The Graveyard Overdrive deck is led by Disa the Restless. Now, this is an old character. She appeared in a whole lot of flavor text from Ice Age. Serious long-range callback. But then mechanically, she calls back to something a little less ancient. Battlefield. Was a huge player in Modern for most of the format's history.
This Jund deck has a lot of Goyfs in it. Our good friend Tarmogoyf, our old friend Lurgoyf.
And she makes tokens that are copies of Tarmogoyf because that is one of the greatest cards of all time.
A Lurgoyf themed commander? That's unique.
And let us just get more cards into more people's hands, right? Like, we knew there were Commander players out there that were wanting cards that were custom for them, and the Commander decks let us do that.
For players who like a flashier experience, we have the Collector's Edition Commander decks for MH3. These feature a new kind of foiling process called Ripple Foil that when you turn the card, it ripples like water. They look super cool and can only be found in the Collector's Edition.
These new commanders, whenever a new legendary creature comes out, everybody always looks at, okay, what can I do in Commander with these things? So I'm pretty stoked about it.
I can't wait. Commander's my favorite. I think it's really exciting to have new Commander decks, new Commander options.
It's hard to not like the Eldrazi one, but I like the one that messes with the lands the most. Yeah, the lands deck is really weird. I want to try it out.
I think that these decks are going to especially appeal to people who are fans of both formats, the Modern format and the Commander format. You get to play something that feels like a Modern deck, but is big enough for a Commander table.
One of the first things I asked was, where can I play this? Because, of course, it's going to be in paper, but is it going to be on Arena? And they said, it's going to be on Arena. And I just thought, well, there goes my summer.
We want to bring Magic to fans no matter how you play.
If you want a fast game, Arena's the way to do it. And this is going to be one of the highest power formats of all time introduced to Arena.
It's fun to play with strong cards. It just is.
The effect that you can draft on a Modern Horizons 3 on Arena, I think, is the thing that players are the most excited about.
Once it goes up on Arena, you're not going to hear from me. I'm not calling you. I'm not calling anybody else here. I'm going to be drafting.
I'm going to draft it nonstop.
It's more accessible than ever and easier than ever to be able to just jump in and play with these cards.
A big part of it is just the scale. There's just so much to it. There's so much complexity. There's so many cards. This is not a small set. Modern Horizons 2 was something we talked about back in the day, but it was just not possible at the time. Arena did not have the depth of the history of Magic. In the years since, we've shipped more old card sets. We've added a ton of old cards, old mechanics, and when Modern Horizons 3 rolled around, we decided to go for it.
Usually when we interact with the Arena team, it's about we need to word this differently so it works on Arena. Magic Arena is a computer program, and it needs things to be very specific and very particular. We want these cards to work on Arena. We want that interface to be smooth. We want the gameplay to be fast. Okay, what needs to change?
Folks over on Studio X will regularly reach out, say, does this work? Is this something that Arena can handle?
Here are the cards. Do they work?
Is this card possible?
And then they dig in and they're like, okay, these ones work. And then other ones, they're like, this will never, ever work in 100 million years. Like, please, please, please change this.
Every once in a while, we push back and ask for slightly different words, or like, is there a way we can get this effect as a trigger instead of a replacement effect, that kind of thing.
To their credit, 99% of the cards we don't have to change. And the answer to does it work is yeah, good to go.
But in those meetings, when we're going back and forth at Studio X, it's very much as Magic players. Everybody in the room wants the coolest cards possible. So how do we make that happen?
We knew Modern Horizons 3 was coming when we designed Timeless, when we were putting all the pieces together and figuring out what we wanted Timeless to look like. We were sort of rethinking the way the Mastery Pass works for Modern Horizons 3, and it's going to function similarly to what players who go to Magic Fests or Magic Cons now would remember as a prize wall. I was a big fan of the prize wall coming to tabletop events years ago, and it sort of changed how people engaged with those large events. And I'm excited to see how arena players respond to having access to something like a prize wall.
It's really popular. Modern Horizons 2 kind of identified that there was a much bigger audience for this than just your hardcore Modern players. The set is about nostalgia and history, and this is Magic's history, and it's now Arena's history. It's really exciting.
Yeah, so the people I got to play with today, we're not talking about just game designers. This isn't just work for them. They show up and they're clearly fans of the game. I mean, you could see them looking around to see what our reactions were. They were proud of the decks that they drafted. They got excited opening cards that they designed. And it really comes through when you get to sit down with actual cards because you can see their face and you can see how excited they are about it.
Parmi les cartes
coming down,
en exil.
Oh my God. Better luck next time.
Solitude,
Et il y a une narrateur ici,
Okay.
c'est le nom
A
de
+1/+1 counter onto Madogo.
Mais ça, j'ai le goût de drafter 7. Ça a l'air en plus de faire des pré-releases.
The Wumpus needs
ce set-là, je serais
I'm going to
peut-être
play
intéressant de
Solar
regarder ça.
Transformer.
Okay.
Enters, I get 3 energy. I go to 5.
Tantôt, on a
Play
eu Shadow de
Scurry of
Second
Gremlins.
Sun,
I get 2
Ancient
1/1 red
Player,
gremlin creatures. Look, there he is. Then I get an
début
amount of
d'Ancient
energy
Player,
equal to the number
post-combat
of
main
creatures I
phase,
can
une
control.
additionnelle,
Okay.
beginning
One more
phase,
ability.
donc
It's a very important
une
ability.
tap
Does it involve the word haste?
It
pour
does
6
involve
mana,
the word
tu
haste.
enchantes un joueur, puis
8.
après la post-combat main
11,
phase, il y a un autre début de phase.
This is real. This is actually happening.
This is
Donc,
actually
déjà pas mal tout sur
I'm
Mox
coming at
Field,
you
ceux qui veulent les
for
voir.
30 damage.
May I go to blocks?
Ah, pas sur
Yeah,
Mox
you can
Field,
block,
sur
you can block for
Mythic
sure.
Spoiler.
I'll block this one.
I'm hitting you for 25.
Good game.
Yeah, good game. Good game.
Power Balance, un enchantement
What the heck,
rouge-rouge,
Mike?
quand un opponent casse le
You
spell,
had
tu peux révéler
nothing.
notre carte de
The bigger
ta
Magic
librairie.
fan you are, the more
Si
you're
tu
going
le
to
fais, tu peux
enjoy
le
this
caster
set.
sans
This
payer
has
sur
almost
mana
been
cost.
3-4 years
Si on
in
le
the
same
making.
mana
Just
value,
being a fan,
c'est
I'm like, yep, I'm gonna rip this open and give me some mythics, right? Give me some,
c'est le
give me some
même,
broken rares.
ça ressemble à
Still like
Counterbalance.
remember the smell of opening the booster pack. Isn't that weird?
I love Magic. I play Magic almost every lunch hour.
Ah oui, il exile la moitié de sa librairie. C'est bien débile.
I'm really just hoping that the people around me feel the passion that went into the product and giggle about the references.
The best
So
moments
they-
ever are when fans like open a pack and they gasp or they think like, what? I never imagined they would do something like this.
Playing Magic cards in real life is second to none. Marshall, I'm unstoppable.
You've never been stoppable. Okay.
Now. Oh, wait, MTG starting soon. Il n'était pas supposé starter. Ajoute Roaming Throne et le land qui t'oublie Trigger. Hey, c'est... Ouais.
Hello and welcome to the weekly MTG After Show, where we dive deeper into everything that you've just seen from the Modern Horizons 3 debut. Thanks for sticking with us. As a reward, we're going to talk more previews. We're going to talk about the set. We're going to dive deep with these two gentlemen over here who were instrumental in bringing this set to life. We have a Mike Turian and a Michael Majors. Mike and Michael. I'm going to keep that straight this whole show. I've known you two for years. We'll get it right. But
we've had these names all our life. We'll help you out.
Thanks. So we're gonna hang out for the next hour. We're gonna reveal some more cards that you've never seen before. There's no way you've seen these cards before. It's absolutely been wonderful. So we are gonna dive into this Modern Horizons 3 set. We're gonna talk about revamped legends. We're gonna talk about mechanical mishmashes and callbacks. We're gonna talk about new to modern reprints. And of course, we're going to show off some sweet treatments. Before we get into that, why don't you two guys say what you did on the set?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mike Turian.
I'm a product architect for Modern Horizons 3. You can kind of think of that as a combination of executive producer for the product and also product lead, product designer. So yeah, I got to do it here for Modern Horizons 3. It was great because I was also the product architect for Modern Horizons 2. And I worked a little bit on the design of Modern Horizons 1. So I've got to see the
So it's your fault all the way through.
Yeah, I've been involved in all. Yeah, for all the amazingness it's made.
Absolutely. Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael Majors. I was the lead designer on Modern Horizons 3. Kind of similar to Mike, I've had a long history with the Horizons product line as well. I was the lead developer for Modern Horizons 1 and also co-led development on Modern Horizons 2. So, yep, a lot of involvement over the years.
All right, cool. Well, let's start with design philosophy. So we've seen a bunch of cool cards. We're going to dive into some more.
More previews.
We're going to dive as deep as commons in this show. So, Michael, talk about overall when you're designing a Horizons set, and specifically Modern Horizons 3, what's the philosophy you came into this one with?
Yeah, so the promise of the Horizons product line is basically that it originated as kind of a time spiral too. So in that sense, it's here are all these callbacks and allusions to Magic's history, which is not something that we can typically do in most sets where typically we're advancing the story and we have specific characters and storylines and a particular plane where we have specific allusions or mechanics that are important to that plane or to those characters or to that storyline. So Modern Horizons is a unique time where we can basically hodgepodge everything out of Magic's history, both characters and mechanics. We sort of think about it as like out of place, out of time. So, maybe we're talking about Emrakul from a particular part of the storyline, and then at the same time we have, other legends, other characters that canonically wouldn't really exist side by side with Emrakul or other types of cards and characters. And then simultaneously, we have access to basically all of mechanics through Magic's history. So we get to see a bunch of different mashups that we wouldn't get to normally experience. And not only does that create interesting and unique card designs, but it also kind of gives us an opportunity to rehash things that maybe we didn't do the best in the past or that we've learned from sets.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to dive right into the preview cards. We have a ton to talk about. And we're going to start, Michael, with some of those reimagined legends pulled out of time. Let's see our first preview card, which is Pearl Ear Imperial Advisor. So we've got a 3-mana 3/4 Fox Advisor from the world of Kamigawa. And it's got lifelink. Enchantment spells you cast have affinity for auras. And whenever you cast an aura spell that targets a modified permanent you control, draw a card. So, Michael, where did this card come from?
Yeah, so right off the bat, we can kind of see an example of like here is a collection of things that we don't normally get to see on a single card.
Ça paraît gros, mais généralement ça va être un colorless, deux colorless.
With artifacts, and sometimes we do affinity for various types, but in this case, auras is super unique. And then you see that it also cares about modified permanents you control. Modified is a really awesome way that you can leverage all the mechanics that Horizons gets to use.
Ben, Sainte-Pelle, t'as défait ton mono blanc justement que ça a réfuté avec.
A great mishmash of like, how can we take seemingly
disparate... Je vais probablement essayer de le slotter dans mon style.
All right. And when you're designing a card like this, is this a shot at bringing the Auras deck back to playability? Is this just a cool card?
Encore en commandeur, il y a tellement de trucs qui réduisent le cost. Puis...
With Modern Horizons,
c'est le card draw qui va être cool. Quand tu casses un aura, tu t'arrêtes une modified, c'est du card draw, c'est cool en crée.
This is kind of an example of like, here's something that is very appealing to commander players. Certainly you can build around this Auras component in kind of a new and exciting way that we haven't seen before.
Ça, c'est Foidetch, mon foiding favori.
What can you do with affinity for auras in Modern? That's something that like people haven't ever really had the need to wrap their head around.
Yeah.
Le portrait
Here's some exciting new space that maybe people can play with and build exciting decks with.
And so we've got a couple treatments up there.
Mais ça a plus l'air d'un chat qu'un fox, le portrait.
Tell us about the borderless profile cards and also the foil etched cards.
Yeah, so the borderless profile cards, you can see there And we'll be seeing these on the other legends that we're going to be looking at upcoming, because it is a treatment that we're using to highlight these legendary creatures, right? And so we did this recently with the Commander Masters set, and it's a pretty stunning, striking treatment. And it really just gives you a way to...
Il y a des decks comme ça que c'est... Ah, il me semble que tu le vois, puis il m'a dit, si tu regardes, quand je les choix, il y en a fait. Colin! Là, tu regardes les cartes dedans, c'est... Oh, je l'ai pas updaté pour un bout.
Upcoming, we'll be looking at the Collector Commander decks, which feature the legends in that treatment also. And then foil etched, once again, for the legendary creatures, that foil etched treatment debuted with Commander Legends a few years back, and foil etched and the legendary frame just really pair so well together that we wanted to bring that here in the Modern Horizons 3 collector boosters. So, that's sort of the spread of how we handle these treatments.
4 pour 3 mana en plus.
Let's move on to some more revamped legends. So Pearlier. You may know Pearlier if you've been playing recently, because we've recently been on Kamigawa, but I'm a big fan of these next two because they speak to the players like myself, around for a long time, aka old.
Wait, hold on. Is that Kamigawa also?
Yeah, but we've recently returned to Kamigawa.
Neon Dynasty, I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. But we've got a new version of Oladmri, who was one of the first legends I encountered when I started playing. But we've got Oladmri Korvek Dal here, who is a very well-known elf and has a lot of cool abilities that kind of like...
J'espérais que c'est vrai, hein.
Features of various sorts. So, Michael, why don't you tell us about the design of Oladmri here?
Yeah, I think Eladamri kind of is a great example of all of the audiences that we really are targeting with Modern Horizons.
3-3 pour 3, Elf Warrior, tu peux regarder la top carte de ta librairie n'importe quand, tu peux casser les créatures spells sur top de ta librairie. Vert plus tap, tu tapes 2 on tap créature, tu révèles une carte de tes mains ou la top carte de ta librairie. Si tu révèles une créature, tu la mets sur le battlefield, active seulement pendant ton tour, c'est awesome. Je ne sais pas quelle je préfère, si c'est la Edge Foil ou la Retro Frame.
This is also, a really exciting potential commander card. It's, sort of combining an Elvish Piper with, a Realm Walker style ability. So that
go dans les elfes. Oui, go dans les elfes. Go dans... En fait, go dans pas mal de decks, t'as des grosses créatures. Ou beaucoup de créatures. Dans mon Green Sleeve, je suis intéressé parce que c'est une créature card du top de ta librairie. Puis tu peux cheater, tu tapes des tokens, tu cheats de quoi? Probablement dans le latrine aussi. Probablement dans le latrine aussi. J'en veux au moins 2 copies.
People who've been paying attention have probably seen there's a number of elf shots.
Ça coûte cher.
Yeah, which ones can we talk about, Blake?
Avec 2 copies, une rétro, une etch.
You might have seen
une rétro, une etch.
Yes, very exciting.
Yep.
There's also maybe one more new to modern reprint that we get to talk about later.
Mike, we added a 4th treatment there from the last slide, and you saw the retro frame. So talk about the retro frame.
Yeah, so the retro frame, it's mentioning Priest of Titania, right? That's when it debuted, it came out at the time the Magic frame. now the retro frame. And what the retro frame does is that for those people who have been playing a long time or have been collecting that treatment, it's another expression of Magic that some people hold near and dear to their hearts. So we did Modern Horizons 3 cards in the retro frame, and so those can be found in the play boosters and collector boosters. And then we also chose select cards from the first Modern Horizons and Modern Horizons 2 and gave those cards retro frames that are only available in the collector. Yeah. So that way, we didn't want to influence the play environment if you're drafting and whatnot, having to worry about MH1 and MH2 cards popping up. But we still sort of just extended the number of cards in that retro frame because we know it's a beloved frame, and so we wanted to give it back.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our 3rd preview card, a flavor text all-star from back in Ice Age. Here we have Arna Kennerud, Sky Captain. a
4-4-2, blanc, bleu, noir, flying, lifelink, ward, discard de cartes. Quand une créature modifiée que tu contrôles attaque, tu doubles le nombre de each kind of counter sur elle. Et ensuite, pour chaque non-token permanent attaché à lui, tu crées un token qui est une copie de ce permanent-là.
So this is, again, like,
oui, effectivement, s'il y a Ragavan, ça va être rétro-frame, ça va être débile.
Old mechanics are mixing things together, so,
fait que là, tu doubles les tokens et tu copies les équipements et les auras.
Exciting and potentially powerful ways with being able to make copies. But
quand tu as une modifier de créature que tu contrôles l'attaque, c'est même pas obligé d'être Arna. Marc-André, il y avait un galadriel d'équipement dans ces couleurs-là.
We talked about some of the mishmashes of mechanics. And, we've done phoenixes a lot of different ways, but this next phoenix uses a recent mechanic. So this is
Phoenix pour Phlann.
Phoenix, which uses the collect evidence
Phoenix pour Phlann.
As well as bestow,
Détective Phoenix.
all on the same line. So,
Murder at Karlov Manor vient nous hanter, même dans MH3.
Yeah, this is a pretty wild one.
Rouge, collecte évidence 6. Flying Ace.
Very beginning of this is like, how do I make a dragon's breath in modern times
de ton graveyard en utilisant cette besto ability.
Which is basically an old school enchantment from Scourge, where if you had a big thing come into play, it would come from your graveyard and give it haste. So it's like, those sort of concepts are a lot of the ways that I think about like how to make Horizon designs. It's like, okay, I kind of want to emulate the style or the feeling of something.
Je l'ai pas, mais le design est fucking
but how do we do it in a completely different way and a new spin on it? Yeah, Detectives Phoenix is interesting because we had collect evidence in the Modern Horizons 3 file before it ever even come out in the real world, which is I think a first for Magic in general, maybe. But yeah, basically it's like, okay, this actually emulates a lot of the things that I really want. I can give something haste from the graveyard. It makes sense that the resource that I have to consume is other stuff from my graveyard, and then bestow is just kind of like a really interesting way of making, a modern aura that seems powerful and playable.
And Mike, we've seen extended frames before. We do these fairly frequently, but why don't you talk about where you can find the in modern?
Yeah, so the extended art frame is a collector booster exclusive. And so for the main set cards, you can find them in collector booster in both foil and non-foil. And, I just love here with the Detectives Phoenix how it just, shows more of the, the wings / the fire, and the color just really radiating from it. So
j'aimerais mieux que Extended Frame ait des rétro frames à la place.
For a card that looks like you're going to be needing to find it in your graveyard.
Je veux
so having a little extra art when it's sticking out is always a helpful there too.
All right, chat, I see you asking for modern cards and also commons and uncommons. So let's do some of that as if we planned it that way. This next one's not a common or uncommon, but it is a callback to a very powerful card, and it resurrects a mechanic that, as Michael alluded, maybe we didn't do quite right the first time.
Volatile Storm Drake.
We're working on it. So here's a Volatile Storm Drake. And God, that
le full art est écœurant. Honnêtement, le full art est super. 3-2 pour 2, Flying Expo from Activated and Triggered Ability. Quand il rentre sur le battlefield, tu échanges le contrôle du Storm Drake. C'est le
Gilded Drake.
C'est le Gilded Drake, c'est ça. Tu échanges le contrôle du Storm Drake et de target créature qu'on a pour contrôle. Si tu le fais, tu gagnes 4 énergies et tu sacrifies la créature, sauf si tu payes un nombre d'énergie égal à sa bonne value. Puis c'est Benjamin qui me disait, tu lui donnes un 3-2, puis tu fais exploser sa créature dans le pire des cas.
Balance and give a different spin on old cards or old play patterns. So we don't necessarily love the play pattern of Gilded Drake.
T'es pas capable de la garder, c'est pas si grave que ça, parce que tu vas faire sauter de quoi que le Volatile Storm Drake.
Here with Volatile Storm Drake, we basically have the opportunity to use energy as a mechanism to gate your ability to use the card in a particularly degenerate way. And so there are some trade-offs which are also interesting. You can
ça va être
clearly you can't exchange this for Grizzlebrand or Atraxa just by
probablement très cherché.
Acquire energy in some other way.
Moi le jouer dans Kinan.
But there are some interesting upsides.
En attendant, le budget
du board, and it's a 3-mana 3/2 flying with some hexproof, and you couldn't do that with Gilded Drake previously.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've also kind of built in some.
Ben, mine de rien, t'as 4 énergies, fait que si tu vois de quoi à 4,
ways to
4 et moins, tu le gardes.
Its power with like blinking and other shenanigans. That's kind of where this hexproof ability came from.
Now that borderless frame break card is something else.
Right? Isn't it so stunning?
Yeah.
So this is a treatment that we were really excited to bring to Modern Horizons 3. It just
frame break,
really lets the artist go all out. Right? We saw Evan Fong in the video we just watched talking about what she.
Mais ça, dans la majorité des decks bleus.
And so in here again with the Storm Drake, you can just see the artists really going all out. And then this will be in play in Collector Booster both. So. Basically.
Fantôme Tribal aussi.
Buy whatever product you love.
Là, on est dans le Drake
hopefully
Tribal.
you'll open up some cards with this awesome treatment.
Very cool. All right, let's move down the rarity slide for a moment and look at a callback to a very famous card. It's a little too powerful for me.
Brain Surge!
Brain Surge. 2 in a blueprint
Oui,
instant
des
that draws
esquelettes.
4 cards and then puts 2 cards in your hand on top of your library in any order. So,
Puis 4 mets 2.
Michael, where did the idea for this uncommon come from?
Yeah, I mean, folks might be familiar with the iconic Brainstorm, which is the 1-mana version of this that draws 3 cards and puts 2 back, which is a very big deal in Legacy and other older formats. Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of a fun reference to Brainstorm, of course, but, although it is not nearly as efficient as Brainstorm, you do actually net an entire card with Brain Surge. So there's some interesting opportunities there, not only just as a powerful limited card, but maybe you're able to do some stuff like put on top of your deck in Modern again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mike, how do you determine which cards get retro framed?
Basically, working with Michael, we took a look at cards that we felt like, hey, this is a card that we think it will be powerful, will be popular, right? Here with Brain Surge, of course, it's just the connection to a Brainstorm. It's like, there may be decks where you end up wanting both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of course, whatever is good with Brainstorm is also good with Brain Surge, right? And so if you need more of that effect, or just you love playing blue and love drawing cards and putting them back, and then so it just gives you the opportunity to put both in the same deck in the same style. So basically it was just combing through the file, finding the cards that
c'est pas retro frame, c'est pas
podcast, and we thought, yes, this will work in the retro frame. And then also too, there's some cards that just are very challenging to put in the retro frame.
Mm-hmm.
So we excluded.
J'ai hâte de voir la commune autobahn en pas peur. Ça fait presque peur.
A retro frame treatment. We've got Grim Servant here.
Grim Servant, 3/2, 4 menaces. Quand il rentre sur Battlefield, tu vas chercher dans ta librairie pour une carte avec une mana value moindre ou égale à la dévotion au noir. Tu la révèles, tu la mets dans tes mains, tu perds 3 points de vie.
This is kind of it's clearly an allusion to Grim Tutor, which is basically a tutor where you get to search for your deck for a card, but you lose 3 life. So we stapled it to a creature, but the way that
tu vas chercher Gary's.
A card that you actually have to work for is by.
Si tu as beaucoup de dévotion, tu vas chercher Gary. Tu joues Gary.
For the most part, getting 1 and 0 mana cards is on the house, but if you actually want to make this into a full tutor, you have to get some stuff on the battlefield. So I think this is both a really fun limited card and also going to be really exciting for Commander folks.
Yeah. All right, next, let's take a look at Evolution Witness. We've got a 2/1 with Adapt 2 that whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Evolution Witness, turn target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Michael, tell us about this card.
Hey!
Yeah, I mean, this is showing off
c'est fou.
A lot of the limited mechanics where
c'est un elfe.
This is an adapt
Moi,
card
vraiment, tu
plus
fais des +1/+1 de
counters,
façon régulière. Tu
permanents
ramènes un
on
paquet de
its
stock de
face,
ton
it's
graveyard
the-
dans tes mains.
the
C'est pas juste une
basic
fois.
keys.
Puis, à la limite, tu peux le triggerer avec Adapt 2.
Put additional counters on Evolution Witness by combining it with
il y a
other
tellement de
cards.
façons de mettre des counters
Pretty
automatiques à chaque
powerful
tour.
recursive combo shenanigans. Also, notably, an elf, which may or may not
Ça aurait
have
été un
some of
Murphy,
these
ça aurait été
other
débile
types
dans
of
mon
cards that may appear in the set. we'll see. But I think this is a pretty fun and powerful card.
Yeah, no, and I love that.
Il s'explore.
This is a common base level, but anytime you put a +1/+1 counter on it.
Ah oui, c'est ça.
Only really do in Modern Horizon sets. Let's keep going down the common chain and take a look at a charming card.
Très bonne charme, pour 2. Dommage égal aux 3 number créatures.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a limited workhorse card.
Any number of
but,
target's player's graveyard.
Does notably have the
Ouais, 14 Crusade.
number of target players' graveyard. So, you know, we're always looking for opportunities.
Avec l'elfe, tu avais raison.
Interesting way to use cards they may not traditionally use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, in most senses, this is just a very useful, very versatile card that
très versatile, puis juste pour 2 mana, très bonne chart. Détruis target d'enchantement, go wide, tu peux une créature destroyer, ou tu exiles des graveyards.
Nah, this is just a one of. Again, you know, Horizons is kind of the time where we can do sort of strange, off the beaten path stuff, and yep, it's a Thraben charm.
Yeah. This set also lets us get wild with some of the art, which we're going to see on Glimpse the Impossible. I've had nightmares about this card. Glimpse the Impossible.
2 rouges sorceries, t'exiles le top 3 cartes de Delberry, tu peux les jouer ce tour-ci. Au début de la fin de ton tour, si les cartes sont exilées, tu fais un 0-1 Eldrazi spawn token qui donne de la mana. Ça, dans mon Purphoros, je pense.
I think this is a great example of.
Dans mon Purphoros, card advantage, j'en ai pas besoin. 3 créatures qui sont sur le battlefield qui vont me donner de la mana pour le prochain tour.
The Eldrazi influence and
Je suis curieux d'essayer ça dans ce deck-là.
Doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, super in line with all the other pieces that are in the set, which again is just an advantage.
Et le artwork,
to do a bunch of disparate
je l'aime beaucoup.
Really exciting and really cool to look at.
Je l'aime beaucoup.
But yeah, this is you know, a take on what we call bottling, which is, you know, you basically exile the top cards of your deck and traditionally in red.
Oh ouais, à verte! Vraiment
unique take, if you don't get to consume those resources, they become Eldrazi spawns. So something else that you can use that's useful.
Ouais, sérieux, j'aime
or
ça.
if you choose not to, right? Because, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Et puis you may play, fait que tu peux mettre ton land.
acceleration can be pretty powerful.
Yeah, it can be just get 3 mana next turn, and there's the Eldrazi spawn
Même dans mon
token.
Omnixilis, je débute Commander, je pense que je vais essayer ça.
All right. So, Mike, there's also a set of cards within Modern Horizons 3 that are new to modern reprints. So can
New to modern reprints?
Those and how you'll find
You're
them?
stuck.
Yeah, so new to modern reprints are we've been doing them since the beginning, and it was originally it was our way to take cards that were only legal in the older formats like Legacy and bring them into modern, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now as time has gone on, it's just like, well, actually, like, you know, a lot of those new Legacy cards don't appear in that way. It's like, okay, here's Cabal Coffers. Okay, well, now it's legal. There's not another one of those available. We still have a few that we've brought in, but one of the things I love is we've now gone and taken a look at Commander content that we've permitted Commander decks that was Commander and Legacy legal. And so a lot of the new to modern reprints we're doing in Modern Horizons 3 are actually cards that the team went and identified of like, hey, this card would be perfectly great to be a modern legal card. Maybe it does spawn a new deck, and so why not? It deserves to be modern legal too. In terms of where you find them, they are both in the play and the collector boosters, and we've given some of them.
Oui, c'est vrai. C'est vrai.
So yeah, we're going to show off, well, in this section, we're going to show off 4 of the new to modern reprints. We'll have some more.
Yeah, I think there's 42 in total.
42 in total?
I believe is the number.
Wow.
It's 41.
But
I believe it's 42 in total.
But if you want those details, we will have the collecting article will go up today at the show, or it might already be up. Who knows? Time is a construct. So we're going to look at 4 of these cards right now. 2 of them which are from Commander products, and 2 of them which are from older sets. So let's start with Crick, Son of Yawgmoth.
Alex. Qu'il est beau. Mana Crypt. Qu'il est beau.
from really exciting commanders. We think that they're a net bonus to Modern just in terms of power level. Maybe they can inspire new decks and get people to build around them, especially folks who have beloved commander decks.
Même le portrait,
Modern, that's just a great jumping in
il est
point.
correct. Le chevaux,
Yeah, that just also increases the possibility space of the decks that are available.
Ouais, c'est vrai que t'as ton judge déjà. C'est dur à battre.
Black pips and use your life total as a resource in a really interesting way. And
yeah,
I think it's a fascinating card that might be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Phyrexian mana's traditionally been pretty powerful.
Not weak.
Not weak in constructed formats.
An understatement.
Yeah. So whether Crick hits, who knows? But I think there's a lot of possibility here in actual Modern. Next, let's take a look at a 4-color legend. We've got Brea, Ethereum.
Oh, Brea.
This one's 4 colors. That makes the man a little tough, but Modern, a lot of things are possible. So
talk a
little bit about Modern.
Again, just, there's interesting possibility space with just including these really powerful commanders that have existed for a while now in Modern. As you said, the bar for a 4-mana, 4 different color card is high. So to be seen what Brea's impact will have on the format. We just thought that cards like this are very interesting to include and might inspire.
Faudrait chasser un Brea deck un jour.
All right, now let's take it. I'm very excited about this one. I know this next card seems
simple,
but again,
carte.
From back in the day. Let's take a look at Deserted
Temple.
Little card, tap, add colorless, 1 untapped target land. But Michael, certainly in a format where we're trying to make Eldrazi a bigger thing, more colorless lands.
Ouais, ça va être peut-être dur à pogner.
Yeah, I mean, this
ça va être une mythique poche à pogner. Oui, effectivement. Ça va être une mythique poche à pogner, Brea.
Clear combos, like
surtout que c'est une rare
you can generate mana, but I think that, like you said, just adding more utility lands that can work with the Eldrazi is really cool. Also, this is just a reprint that people.
Deserted Temple, c'est l'étape un Chaos Creator.
Yeah, and it's fun too. You can see there the watermark.
Le prix va dropper, j'imagine. Parce que il me semble que c'était rendu assez haut, Deserted Temple original.
So for the Odyssey out there, we brought them back, and because these are in play boosters, that means when you're drafting, you'll come across them too, right? And so, I mean, I've never had a chance to play Brea Unlimited, right? And so, if you end up building a 4-color deck and
non, ça c'est un très bon reprint. Si tu as des lands, des utility lands intéressants.
A question I'm sure we'll get. So these new to Modern cards, we're treating them as their own category. Do they have their own?
Ou des lands qui produisent beaucoup de mana. 3 en réalité.
Kind of normally.
Yeah, they do have.
Sinon, c'est 1 plus 8
new to Modern cards do come.
Mais ça peut être le fun.
In the play booster, they don't have. I don't believe it's 100% dedicated slot, but you do find them pretty regularly. So, and you can get them in the wild card slot.
Okay.
So.
All right. Next up, this is a cycle of cards that you definitely haven't seen before. But the art on these is really cool. So let's take a look at the new to Modern medallions.
Oh wow!
On those frame break.
Oh wow!
Like these are
excellent reprint. Ils ont été réprimés il n'y a pas si longtemps, mais c'est toujours bienvenu. Et les full art
Storm Drake, I wanted to jump ahead and be like, let's show those medallions, right? Wow. Because I mean, once again, so incredibly stunning. The original art is awesome there. And
oui, le prix devrait dropper pas mal.
I mean, I think I get to present and talk internally about the set a lot, and that Jet medallion art, every time I showed it, it just wowed everybody, and now it's just, and seeing the
Jet foil pour ton cric.
Yeah. Michael, I come from the school of playing Sapphire Medallion and then casting Capsize with buyback. We're a little past that world.
But sérieux, ils sont vraiment beaux. Excellent.
Yeah, we don't love prescribing the Capsize with buyback or the Cloud of Fairies combo or anything like that. But yeah, certainly, Sapphire Medallion and Ruby Medallion have a particular pedigree, and these are just, pretty unique cards, and their ability to might not traditionally have a bunch of cost reduction, the ability to do so. So be on the lookout for Storm.
Yeah, I'm eyeing that Ruby medallion over there for Moderns. All right, Now, we're going to move to another category that Mike referred to earlier, which are the retro reprints that come from previous Modern Horizon sets. There is some spice in here. So before we start showing them off, can you reiterate where can you get these?
Yeah, so for the retro reprints specifically, the cards that were in a couple from Modern Horizons 1 and the majority from Modern Horizons 2, they are only found in the collector booster, right? So once again, we wanted to bring them into the retro frame. However, we also didn't want to disrupt the limited gameplay experience of the play booster. So they're a collector booster exclusive.
Okay. Yeah. These first 5 are not going to be a surprise. We've shown off some of these, but we want to show them in the retro frame. These fit into these. You'll get the retro frame elemental incarnations, the pitch elementals, are known.
Je pensais que ça serait des special
guests. All 5 of them are coming. Now, Michael, I will ask you. So Fury's banned in Modern,
right?
So talk a little bit about that. Why it's still in the set?
Yeah, I mean, as you alluded to, these are very iconic cards from Modern Horizons 2, and now kind of infamous in the Modern format. These were selected before. That ban decision was made.
And oui, il fallait que tu réimprimes le cycle au complet, même si
we want to do right by the Modern format, regardless of these selections that we've made, in advance. But regardless, Fury and all of these cards are really exciting, powerful cards to own.
All right, let's take a trip through the rest of these. So these are all going to be reprints from previous Modern sets. With the retro frame treatment. Here we have Esper Sentinel.
Il me faut un Esper Sentinelle pour mon deck d'Ursa.
Evidence. So,
il me faut un Esper Sentinelle pour mon deck d'Ursa. Juste dans les collecteurs boosters.
Some of this is just like exciting.
Ça veut dire qu'ils pourraient être reprintés dans le set régulier.
Sets that, have become beloved over
ouais, mais c'est juste dans les collecteurs boosters Sainte-Pelle qui sont imprimés. Ils sont pas dans les play boosters.
Years now, it's just given birth to some really.
Je sais pas à quel point ça va courir les rues ces cartes-là.
So, giving people the option to express themselves with these.
Fait que je pense pas que le prix va dropper.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. And I mean, Modern Horizons 2 also had cards.
Il me faut que j'achète cette Esper Sentinelle. Faut que j'achète ça. Mon Ursa, c'est mon rétro frame deck.
Here with Modern Horizons 3, it's like. Hey, we took and we looked and we said, okay, let's identify these cards and bring them into the retro frame. But then Magic evolves, cards get released.
Mais il aurait dû faire genre de liste avec ça, quelque chose genre des special guests, pas juste des collecteurs.
Cards that, in hindsight, sure, we would have maybe brought them into the retro frame in Modern Horizons 2.
Bon, la question, est-ce que tu achètes des collecteurs boosters jusqu'à temps que tu pognes Esper Sentinelle ou tu achètes Esper Sentinelle? Puis les collecteurs boosters, c'est vrai, sont quand même dispendieux. Fait que, ouais, parce qu'ils courront pas les rues, ces cartes-là.
Yeah, they do have a different set symbol than the main set. Once again, that's sort of that the distinguishing factor, right? Because they're in the collector booster only. So we wanted to make it clear.
Dans ce cas-ci, d'après moi, ça va être fine singles to buy. On va la trouver pour l'acheter. Sling Lieutenant. Ragavan. Tu l'avais collé, Sainte-Pelle, Ragavan.
And Ragavan Nimble Pilfer, kind of jockeying back and forth for best red 1-drop at various times. And then
les beaux retro frames, Spaniel.
A relatively cheap but powerful treasure enabler. Michael, anything to add about these cards?
No, I mean, I think most of these cards speak for themselves as mainstays in constructed formats.
C'est ça, je trouve ça super cool. L'idée, mais juste dans les collecteurs boosters, j'aime moins ça.
Yeah, let's call out the tombstone icon in the top left, Strike It Rich.
Yep.
Right?
I didn't notice that.
One of the fun things about the retro frame and flashback.
C'est cool avec le tombstone.
Some rare times we something up.
S'il y a Ragavan, je vois mal une autre carte de ce bonus sheet.
It's pretty rare that there's something coming before,
the 30 US.
Before the name.
The iconic flashback symbol.
Yeah, the iconic flashback symbol, right? It's just part of the appeal.
Au-dessus de 30 US.
Totally.
Yeah.
Remember that thing that time?
Yeah.
All right, we've got 3 more of these to show.
3 more?
We've got Unholy Heat,
plus raisonnable.
Provisioner, and
Tireless Provisionnaire, super beau.
These three.
Super beau. Tireless Collectionneur rétro.
Modern Horizons sets. Yeah.
Et un autre
Unholy
gobelin.
Heat is not weak.
Ben, j'ai hâte de voir la full list. J'ai hâte de voir la full list.
All right, so we also,
Ouais,
so we're not
ben,
doing the list specifically.
Mais un
set,
prévu
we
chez
are
là.
doing special guests.
Special guest.
Yeah, we don't have the reprints with the Planeswalker symbol in the bottom left-hand corner. But yes, we do have special guests.
Special guests.
1 in 64 play boosters. Instead of a common, you get one of the special guest cards.
Une sur
There's 10 of them.
64.
And so I think we're going to take a look at...
we're going to look at all 10.
Yeah, we're looking at all 10.
All 10
awesome.
secret
And so
special
we
guests.
went and we picked cards that were from Magic's past and gave them a new art, the beautiful art styling, and yeah, they're the special guests.
Yeah, so 5 of them right off the bat. Probably known again.
Bon, ils ont fait en special guest.
Early on, so then we've also got
moi, il me semble aussi qu'on les avait vus. On avait vu Solitude, je pense. On avait vu Solitude. Tottenham Seer, Prismatic Ending, Dismember, Persist, Expressive. Ben, je suis déçu des special guests.
Yeah, I mean, basically, just like we talked about previously with Fury.
Je suis un peu déçu.
These selections were made many moons ago, but these are still really exciting cards to own that see play in a lot of formats.
Yeah, and because they're in the play booster, that means that they don't show up very often, right?
Le Tottenham Seer est beau, mais je
but,
suis...
it does mean that, occasionally when you're drafting, you'll get to play with one of these and, likely quite surprise your opponent, especially with, when you dismember and they're like, they will not see it coming.
Dismember, they prennent 2, 3, 7.
All right. Now we are going to move on to some cards from the Commander decks.
Oh,
there are
card de Commander deck.
Decks for this Modern Horizons set for the first time. So, Mike, why?
Yeah,
we've
great.
seen a lot of questions about why Commander decks in a Modern Horizons.
Yeah, so one of the things that became pretty clear was we always knew that Modern Horizons would appeal to the modern player, right? I mean, in Modern Horizons 2. The thing that in retrospect, not surprising, but we also saw a ton of love from the Commander community. Commander is Magic's most popular format, and in Modern Horizons and Modern Horizons 2 are filled with powerful cards. So of course Commander players are going to embrace it. And so with that, it became like with the Commander audience just really loving and digging everything about the Horizons line, it was like, all right, let's go and introduce Commander decks, because it just afforded us an opportunity to do new designs that were, had embraced some of that modern essence, like Ethan was talking about.
Je comprends son point. Puis,
and use it to create some cool, powerful
peut-être à sa
cards,
défense, ben non.
bring back
Le monde
the
aurait acheté
things
du MH3 pareil, même pas de
decks
Commander deck. C'est
otherwise,
des cartes qui sont plus fortes que les autres qu'on voit d'habitude, soit Pioneer ou
overall,
Standard.
it's just really a win-win of, hey, let's
Puis,
do
veux pas,
this,
il sort des cartes
what our
designées
players
pour
want,
Commander,
let's
clairement, dans
design.
le set
So,
pareil.
yes, and I will acknowledge
Qui sortent des
it is
Commander deck
awkward
en
that the product's
plus.
called, Modern Horizons.
Oui, mais pour qu'ils sortent des Commander decks, c'est correct. Il aurait quand même dû sortir des modernes decks.
To me, I just thought that
En
this was
plus,
the right thing to do to
puis il me semble s'il aurait annoncé des decks modernes,
And we're going to hold on to
ça
that
aurait passé comme dans le
audience
Smash.
about the reprints, because the reprints in these decks are stacked. We're going to show off 2 examples, but they're very good.
Stacks?
So we're going to go through kind of each deck real quick. We'll show off the face card and the secondary commander.
Oh boy.
And then we're going to show off 2 of those spicy reprints as well.
Spicy
so we're going to start
reprint.
with Creative Energy. Creative Energy is
Spicy
it's an
reprint.
energy deck. And yep. And it is helmed by Satya, Aetherflux Genius.
Ouais, ça on l'a vu tantôt. On n'a pas vraiment le temps de le lire.
Mike, can you talk about, first of all,
On se tape des bêtes si tu veux, mais
moi
je vous dis,
right.
ceux
Yeah,
qui sont
so maybe,
intéressés d'acheter, gardez vos clics pas
there's
loin
2
parce
kinds of
que
Commander decks.
après ça, les prix vont
There's
changer.
Commander deck, and then there's
Quand il attaque, tu
collector
crées
Commander deck.
taper, attaquer un token qui est une
So
copie
the
d'une autre
foil
target d'une
commander
créature
that-
que tu
I mean,
contrôles, tu
Brendan
gagnes 2
News
énergies au début de ton
bought a
handstep, tu
pre-constructed
les sacrifies, sauf
commander
si tu
deck,
payes
you'll
un nombre
be very
d'énergie à sa
familiar.
manœuvre.
You get
Très
that
cool.
foil commander in the commander deck. You also, every commander deck comes with the foil etched. We call it the foil etched display commander, right? A lot of times, you see people just using that one as the one.
Annoté de procession dans ce deck-là?
And then if they need to shuffle it into their
Vu
deck,
que tu fais des tokens, il y a du blanc.
The actual magic card.
Ça serait une pièce pour les
The borderless profile card that you see here, that is actually, you get that in a ripple foil, which we'll talk about.
Merci. Ouais, ils ont parlé de Spicy Reprint. Ce deck-là m'intéresse déjà. Je crois que s'il y en a une telle procession dedans, je vais juste
for the foil commander, the borderless profile, and the extended art, you can find them in some of them in play boosters, some of them in the collector booster, right? So like the extended art is a collector booster exclusive. For instance, the borderless profile, you can get a non-foil version in the play booster. And so if you're like, wow, Mike, that was great information, and I need even more, once again, I have an article which really lays out, hey, what, where, and what, you get everything. So,
collecting Modern Horizons 3.
Yeah, but that gives a semi-brief overview of the different treatments.
Yep. Let's see the secondary commander in this deck. We've got Keith, Aimed Machinist.
Quand cette créature lance sur Battlefield, tu mets +1/+1 sur elle ou tu crées un cerveau. Les autres non-token créatures du contrôle ont Fabricate Art et tu choisis un Populate ou Proliferate.
Yeah,
hey, Sylvain, c'est un
the
dwarf.
foil etched version here is so
Sylvain est un dwarf 3 couleurs maintenant.
I believe you find that in the collector booster.
Ok, fait que t'as Energy ou
so if you want that
Populate c'est cool.
And that foil etched one is a playable magic card, right? We only include that the thicker version as part of the commander decks themselves.
Gotcha. All right, next up, we have a highly anticipated deck, the Eldrazi Incursion deck, with Ulalek Fused Atrocity helming it.
Ulalek.
We've got the foil commander, the borderless profile, and the foil.
Parce que c'est des spells, tu payes deux colorless.
Yeah, so the Eldrazi
sort of, que tu contrôles, et tu copies toutes les autres activités de trigger d'habilité, tu peux choisir une nouvelle target.
They already have a colorless frame, right? Yeah. And so it meant that we didn't necessarily want to just duplicate that here. So the Eldrazi, they definitely ended up with a few different expressions of what we did. Like as we take a look at the secondary commander, you'll see that we did do an extended art version there. So they're an odd creature, and they ended up with handled in a few different ways.
Dans quel deck Dockside?
Different ways. We've got Aslas,
Graveyard Overdrive,
Swelling Scourge here.
Ok. 3-2-2, quand lui ou un autre colorless créature du contrôle meurt, tu gagnes une expérience compteur. Bluebird, une créature du contrôle gagne +6/+6 jusqu'à la fin du tour. X, c'est le nombre d'expériences du compteur que tu as. Les sillons et les spawns que tu contrôles ont indestructibles et inadator 1. Dockside dans Energy, ça serait fou. Hein?
And Mike, I know you weren't the lead on the commander deck, but any insight into why the team chose to go with a 5-color Eldrazi theme rather than colorless?
Well, I mean, for one, in terms of just a colorless deck,
c'est vrai que tu pourrais copier tes tokens de présence.
Mean all 100 cards would could only be colorless. They couldn't have mana activations in their abilities. They couldn't have mana, their casting costs. And I'll say that that ends up being
Mana Confluence.
Monotone.
Mana Confluence, ça serait un très bon reprint, effectivement.
By making the deck 5-color, in some ways 6-color, right? There's, if you count colorless as a color, may or may not, depending how you count. It once again, like that's something that, I talked about Commander going into a new space with Modern. That's something that, we just typically don't get to do. So going 5-color it meant that we get to access all the powerful cards.
Qu'est-ce qu'ils ont en pré-vente, les Commander decks, pour l'instant?
It actually offered a lot. And the decks came out pretty cool. And we introduced, as the Eldrazi do, the hybrid...
the new mana symbol.
New mana symbol, which is a cool novelty also.
Yeah. And you've also got some of the ripple foils to show off.
Yeah. So we have here. This is Ripple foil. This is what you'll get in your deck. Let me see if I can get the light to catch it exactly right.
Ouais, non, c'est ça. J'en vois pas en prévente, moi non plus.
And then also
On dirait que le monde, les magasins ne l'ont pas mis parce que...
Display Commander. So this is it's both foil etched and ripple foil. So it's, and our product page has a rendering of this as well, but we just wanted to sort of show how awesome the cards are. As always, these cards through digital media, like, capture them as best we can.
Yeah.
But
ouais, moi aussi, je trouve une place qu'ils sont tous sauf Eldrazi. Ça doit être la même
place.
I
really love how the foil
Déjà une Pringle.
treatment came out for the collector's edition. So great.
All right, let's take a look at our third deck, which is Graveyard Overdrive.
Oui, oui, Sainte-Pelle, on est à la même place. On est à la même place.
Particular card. So let's see, Disa the Restless.
OK. 5, 6, 2 John. Quand un Lurgoyf est mis dans le graveyard de n'importe où, sauf le battlefield, tu le mets sur le battlefield. Fait que si tu self-mill, tu mets tes Lurgoyf. Quand une ou plusieurs créatures que tu contrôles fait du combat damage sur un player, tu fais un Tarmogoyf copie.
Never thought I'd see the day create a
C'est cool, c'est cool.
But this is sort of the wild space that Modern Horizons can work in.
Yeah, we do play. Oh, yeah, there's the Tarmogoyf token, right? That's amazing. As the lead designer of Future Sight, it's I did not see this as the future of Tarmogoyf, right? But that's the gifts of Future Sight. It surprises you in so many amazing ways. I was going to say, for so many of these sets, we go down and we bring in external people and we playtest with them, right, to get real world feedback. And
dans le Tarmogoyf.
I'll never forget when they
were imprimé il n'y a pas longtemps, mais c'est vrai que c'est
losing their
tribal.
mind making Tarmogoyf tokens.
C'est vrai que c'est un deck
right,
tribal.
in playing this deck because just it's pretty unheard of and pretty fun, and Lurgoyf's getting rewarded, so you can go back.
Tarmogoyf en token, je trouve que c'est un cute nod là. C'est drôle à crème. La carte qui valait une fortune à cette heure, c'est un.
Lobbying for Muldrifter tokens.
Right.
Muldrifter Commander.
Card Kingdom, 299 pour les cartes.
Yeah,
I've tried.
Moi, j'ai 2,99 pour les cartes decks.
We've seen Muldrifter. It made me happy. Let's see the backup commander for this one, Corum the Undertaker, and here they are.
Okay, the Eldrazi collector.
+0, where X is the greatest power among creature cards in all graveyards. So again, it works with that sort of Tarmogoyf ideology, I guess. It mills when it attacks, and you can play land cards, cast spells from your graveyard that were put there from libraries that turn. So you gotta do a little milling, a little graveyard recursion, Tarmogoyf stuff. Portalist profile is really
cool. I really love how it just gives the artist a way to express the character.
Yep.
And show them off in a new way.
Now, we mentioned the powerful reprint in the commander decks, and we weren't joking around. The next one we're going to show is an example. The decks have a ton of powerful reprints in them, but I think this one's pretty emblematic because I was actually looking for one of these the other day. So Archon of Cruelty, this is a favorite reanimator target in Modern. This is going to come in Graveyard Overdrive deck, among other cards.
Excellent, on n'a pas la même définition.
Yeah, so in addition to the, we've been looking at the face and the feature commanders, you get 13 other new designs in the deck, and then they're 100-card decks. And so, of course, that means, we have a lot of opportunities for bringing in some amazing reprints, and Archon of Cruelty is...
C'est pas mauvais, là, mais...
Of course, as you mentioned,
je pense qu'ils ont hypé un peu, là.
That's clearly about graveyard and graveyard manipulation. So, you just get great matches.
Yeah. Chat's mentioning Reanimator, creativity. This card sees a lot of play, but it is in Precon. So yeah, the Precons, the lists for those with all those sweet reprints, that's coming next week. In fact, next week on this very show, we're going to be showing off one of the decks. Last deck here to talk about is Tricky Terrain.
On se lancera pas dans l'achat de Commander
the callbacks here on Omo, Queen of the Suva. Suvan Doppelganger is an early favorite of mine.
Ok, 1-5-3. Quand il rentre sur Battlefield ou attaque, tu mets un Everything Counter sur chaque land et créature que tu contrôles. Chaque land qui a un Everything Counter a tous les types et chaque non-land a toutes les créatures types.
Yeah, definitely a shenanigans deck through and through, right? You can do a lot by changing land types, and of course it has the typical ramp capabilities, so you're just putting a lot of land into play.
Yep.
And I've seen already some memes about everything bagels instead of everything counters, so I look forward to people custom making some, maybe everything bagel counters and really going all out there. But yeah, it's definitely, if you're somebody who likes to brew and put together some pretty cool combos. And of course, there's
12 pièces du paquet. Mais non, collector, j'ai vu, c'était 50 pièces
and all that goodness of
paquet régulier, je pense, sont 12
what you
pièces.
can really do with lands. So, and it's great too because of course in Commander, if they do kill Omo, like you're going to be able to play the Commander tags and get Omo going again.
All right, next up.
Ah, 12 paquets dans la boîte. Oui, c'est 12 booster box. Oh, il est beau, lui.
And again, that borderless profile
2-4 pour 4. Quand il rentre sur Battlefield, tu crées une dryade, un forest dryade. Ça aussi, pendant un bout. C'est drôle, ça se transfère un token. Dans le temps, c'est là où elle a une fortune. Au début de ton combat, créatures du contrôle ont plus X+X. X, c'est le power de lui.
More wild land shenanigans here. And
there's the forest dryad.
Ouais, forest dryade.
Yeah. And they are affected by summoning sickness. Definitely a good thing to know because it, I mean, much like Dried Arbor, it's
oh, et c'est 12 boosters, puis 36 la playbox.
And then we're going to highlight one of the reprints from this deck. You'll see the full deck list next week. But we're bringing in, it's a land deck. Why not bring in the Apex Devastator? That classic line, Cascade.
Et de gros mana cost. C'est ça, les affaires comme ça. Gros reprint parce que le mana cost est cher.
Like, yeah. No, definitely.
Ouais, 500 bucks, ouais.
Powerful reprints. As I mentioned, the deck has a ton of acceleration.
Pas moyen d'une collector box.
10 mana is something that's very achievable.
Oh mon Dieu, c'est ça leur gros reprint.
Mana ramp. And, I mean, cascading 4 times.
Je l'ai vendu à mon père.
Yeah, it really represents, I think, the power of these decks and of Modern Horizons as well. Of like, hey, here's a whole bunch more.
All right, well, that concludes all the preview cards we have. We do have a couple minutes if chat has questions. If you tag at Magic, I'm more likely to see them. But while we're looking at that, real quick, in short, without giving too much away, what are you most excited for from this set, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, for me, what I love about the modern format and just Magic in general is exploration and people's creativity.
Beaucoup de belles cartes s'annoncent. On s'énervera pas ces reprints de Commander Deck avec ce qu'ils nous ont montré malheureusement.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing the community's
des bons reprints dans le base set. J'ai hâte de voir les autres nouvelles cartes qui vont arriver. C'est vraiment le fun, genre Eldamari, de voir des vieilles Legendary revenir avec une sauce plus moderne. Une sauce plus moderne, quelque chose de plus intéressant. Le Art Direction a de l'air super bien.
Show them off here, but showing them off elsewhere.
Coupe de clin d'œil au passé, comme le White Orchid Phantom qui est cool, le Shadow of the Second Son, de voir Six tout seul. C'est cool, c'est très cool.
Yeah, just feels great when you open up a Magic pack and you're like,
on va voir la suite des choses. Match versus Net, collecteur de match pro. J'y ai pensé, mais on est avec des bottes de le
And drafting it.
And I'm very excited to draft it. Oh, and that's, we haven't talked about it that much, but this is a Modern Horizons.
Non, t'as avec des bundles réguliers parce que.
Yeah, I mean,
maintenant, ce qui est quand même pas mal de cartes.
The video, it was great to be able
au niveau des rares,
bring
des rares surtout, qui vont peut-être vouloir dans plusieurs
decks. One of the great things about Arena now being around for as long as it has, they've just, a lot of the mechanics.
Juste le nouveau Guild de Drake en bleu, qui est très cool. J'en prendrais bien une coupe de copies. Le cycle de Free Spell, vous savez, j'aime pas ça. Mais le vert, sacrifier une non-token créature de la couleur, je trouve ça intéressant.
All right, we only have a couple minutes, so I'm going to try to get to a few questions.
Bon, ils vont faire des questions.
Yes or no?
Je pense pas qu'ils montrent d'autres choses. Merci d'avoir été là avec moi pendant cette belle 1h40, quasiment 2 heures. C'était très cool. On va regarder ça plus en détail ensemble dimanche prochain. On va faire un live, on va faire le tour de ce qui est sorti, on va prendre le temps de les lire, d'en jaser un peu, qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec ça, qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire avec ça. Ça va être vraiment cool. On revient sur les lives réguliers jusqu'à temps qu'on ferme le studio au mois d'août. J'ai manqué la question? Non? C'était quoi? Vincent, le bundle normal. Le spécial sort plus tard. Eldrazi Modified. Oui, plus intéressant, mais ils sont plus tard. Puis ils ont répondu, ils ont dit oui, Murfolk.
Are we getting lands with the Urza subtype?
Ah, j'ai coupé, je m'excuse. On va écouter les questions dedans.
Are there others? Wait and see.
Right, in Omo with the everything counters means you can.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can help yourself.
Lokai, on lands.
Yeah.
Right.
Caves.
Let's see.
Gates.
Yeah.
Well, that's I'm seeing a lot of questions about Arena, how it's going to implement it in Arena, and they're all great questions. I would encourage you to check out the Arena communications channels, the blog, that sort of thing. They're going to have the details of how everything is going to be expressed on Arena, including things like, pets and...
merci Alex, c'est cool. J'aime ça faire ça avec vous.
Mike, do the collector's editions come with full art lands?
It's about the commander decks. Collector edition commander
decks. I think so, yeah. I mean, that was the question.
No, they have extended art. I mentioned that they come up with 13 new designs in addition to the face and feature. Those 13 rares that are new, those all come in extended art. The lands in the deck are just regular frame. If the question was about the collector booster does come with, you get a foil full art and the Eldrazi full art lands in every collector.
Michael, are there any vampires in it?
Yeah. Very iconic one.
Okay.
Oh.
Any slivers?
No.
Okay.
Don't believe so.
All right.
And all of these memory questions, please,
take with a grain of salt.
We know the sets well, but
oh, okay. I'm going to take this one. It says, please answer the plethora of commander-related questions. So Mike did speak to why the commander products exist a bit ago when at the top of the commander section. If you missed that, I'd encourage you to go back and watch it. I unfortunately don't have the timestamp off the top of my head, but it's right before we started showing off the commander precons. The short version is that we have multiple audiences, and we realize that Commander players do love Horizon sets, and so we're doing a thing for them. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah, it really is about, hey, we wanted to, make Commander specific content. Of course, we do blend that into the main set as well. But with Modern Horizons being such a popular product for Commander players, we wanted to make sure we could make cards specifically for that audience without having to worry about, how does this play in draft or other constraints of modern format.
Yep. All right. I think this is probably the last question we have time for. It is 10:30. Will the retro frame cards from MH1 and MH2 be only in foil or in non-foil as well?
They'll be in both.
Oh,
yeah, cool. Both. Yeah, and once again, I have a collecting article. I'm guessing it's up right now on Daily MTG, and so that's the place where if you want those super specific questions answered, I really break it out, to often to the 0.1%, so you can have a good idea of, hey, when I open up this collector booster, what are the possibilities, and
all right, fake it.
Solve that out. So take my written word and document it because it really.
On a manqué la question libre faux.
Off the top.
La prochaine fois, on devrait suivre le Q&A. Fait que c'est fini. Bon. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été là. Merci, Alex. J'aime bien ça, faire ça. Puis souvent, j'essaye de naviguer au travers mon horaire de travail, genre pas dîner, ou déplacer mon heure de dîner, ou manger dans le peu importe, pour essayer de vous les faire à chaque sortie de set. Là, ça donne que cette semaine, je suis en vacances, donc j'ai pu me gâter, prendre le temps de m'installer, puis tout. Fait que merci d'avoir été là. Dimanche, on regarde ça dans le détail. Quels sont les... Parce que là, les spoilers commencent, là. Là, aujourd'hui, là, puis cette semaine, là, on voit des cartes. Fait qu'on va regarder ça ensemble. Petite nouveauté qui va s'en venir pour MH3 également. On va faire une semaine thématique. MH3, vous saviez, d'habitude, je faisais un top 10. Là, j'essaie de quoi de nouveau? 5 top 5 pendant une semaine. Un coup que les spoilers vont être faits. Ça va être cool. Bonne journée, tout le monde. Amusez-vous bien. Soyez là dimanche. On regarde ça dans le détail. On s'assied bien confortablement parce qu'on va en jaser pendant un bout d'après moi. Ils vont avoir du stock de sortie pas mal. Hey, bye tout le monde. Bonne fin de journée. Puis on se reparle. On se revoit dimanche. Bonne semaine. Bye bye.
Thank you.